Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. I often get asked about the chisels that I have in my collection. So today I'm going to take you through and show you the ones that I have, which ones I use the most, and which ones I use the least. I'm going to start with the ones I use the most, which are going to be my specialty chisels on this side, which is what I use most for joinery. And then I'll get into some of my more general purpose chisels, which are on this side of the cabinet. So let's get started. Okay, these are my most commonly used chisels. They are from lles. They're their pattern maker's chisels, and I use them a lot for cutting dovetails, doing all my final chopping on pin sockets, for instance, or between tails. The ones I use the most out of this set are going to be the 1/8 and the 1/4 inch chisels, just because a lot of the things that I'm doing are a little finer, a little smaller scale. What makes these chisels so great for dovetailing is that there is no bevel, there is no flat spot on the side that would interfere or damage the sides of your tails as you're chopping down. So that's a nice feature of these ones. I also like them because they're very short, and a lot of the times when I'm using these things, I like to hold the chisel way down here with my hand almost all the way down to the cutting edge, and that's a lot nicer. It doesn't really fatigue your wrist. If you have a lot of weight up here, this is not a very comfortable thing to do for very long, so having a nice short chisel with not much weight to it is really nice for doing some fine detailed chopping. Now, as I said, I use the 1/4 and the 1/8 inch chisel the most, but I also have here the 3/8, a 5/8, a 7/8, and an 1.25 inch. Now the next set of chisels I have here are the round back chisels from lles. They are unique because their bodies are really thin. You can see here, there's not much meat here compared to like these ones here, the pattern maker chisels. See, it's a lot thicker. So what these are great for is getting into small places where a chisel normally can't fit because the body gets in the way. So if you wanted to pair the inside of this tail here, this chisel can actually go right in between here and have no problem getting down in there. Whereas something a little more traditional like this, it gets stopped right away. Now the other thing these are really great at is for pairing. Because they have such a thin body, they flex very easily. So you can actually flex these things to your favor. So if I'm pairing, for instance, I'll have my workpiece, I'll have my chisel on it, and my fingers will be holding it like this. And this allows me to have a little bit of a pivot point, and I can actually pry a little bit and control the motion a little bit better by actually flexing the body of the chisel, because there is just a little bit of flex in there. It's very easy to bend, so they're handy. Now these ones I have in the 1/16 inch, the 1/8 inch, the 1/4, and the 3/8. And by far the one I use the most is the 1/4 inch, mostly because a lot of the things I do, I'm using 1/4 inch stock for like drawer size, for instance, and the 1/4 inch chisel just fits nicely and is able to pair in here like that. So that's those ones. Now the next set of chisels I have here are just a set of Marple chisels from Home Depot. I think they were $30 for the whole set, and I think they're a fantastic beginner set. I've had these for a few years now, since I first started woodworking, and they've worked fantastic. The one that I use the most out of these is the 1/2 inch chisel, and I use that for a lot of the initial chopping if I'm making a half blind dovetail, just to chop out all the waste. I also use these if I need anything where I need that longer length, if I need more leverage on something, so for maybe some pairing or anything where you just need a little bit more leverage and control over the cut. Now these next chisels are also from lles. They are part of their bench chisel set, and these are just the larger chisels that I have out of that set. This is a 2 inch, an 1.5 inch, and an 1.25 inch. I don't use these very often. I use them whenever I need this extra long reference area. So if I'm doing a hinge mortise or a lock mortise where I need a little bit more room, just a little bit more width to get a nice straight line, I'll use these chisels, but for the most part they don't get used that often. Now this next set of chisels are a set of butt chisels. These are really great if you want to be doing something where your hand needs to be closer to the work. So this is going to be a little bit more detail work, for instance. And the great thing about these is the handles are so short that you actually can rest it right in the palm of your hand, and you don't really need a mallet or anything, so you can actually push really easily through the cut. So that's where these come in handy. Really good for detail work. I don't use these all that much anymore. I stopped using them once I started getting some of these pattern maker chisels from Ashley Isles. They're just better quality, and the balance is a little nicer. But before I got those, I used these all the time. A lot. All right, what do we got left? All right, this next chisel here is a Mortise chisel. I don't use it that often. I only use it when I have to do some really, really heavy chopping, where I need something that's really stout and can handle a really good pounding from a mallet. So it's handy to have around. I've never actually used it to chop a mortise before, just for really heavy chopping. But handy to have as well. And these things, if you haven't used one of these things before, they are heavy. They're a very heavy chisel, so they're fun. All right, what's next? So the next ones I have here are just some really cheap beater chisels. They're little Stanley ones. I don't really use these ever, except if I have some glue stuck to my workbench and I need to pop it off. So I'll use these for those. They're my beater chisels. All of my other chisels don't leave the bench area. If I need to do something for some reason over on some other area in my shop, these are the ones that go. None of the other ones leave this area. This chisel here is a 1/8 inch Marples chisel. I don't use it very much anymore because I have 1/8 inch chisels in both the round back and the pattern maker chisels. But before that, I used this a lot for that smaller detail work. I just prefer those shorter chisels, but so yeah, this is part of my bench chisel set. My last chisel here is an antique. This one belonged to my grandfather. I don't use it very often, but it's kind of cool just to have you know, something that belongs to someone in your family, and it comes in handy if you ever need something really small. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the chisels that I have in my collection. I'll leave links to the to where you can buy these chisels in the description if you're interested in taking a look at any of the ones I have in my collection. This is part of a new segment or series that I'm doing. It's just where I take a frequently asked question or a broader topic question and just spend some time talking about it and sharing the information. So if you have any broad topic questions that you'd like answered, feel free to send them to me. Either leave me a comment about it or send it to me via email or through one of my various social media things. So thanks as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today, about the chisels or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment or send me an email. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.